It's the J.R. Hendrick Texan Gentleman, dealing with the early life of J.R. Hendrick in a narrated format. Enjoy the fun, my friends. Okay. Here we go. Welcome to the podcast where we have breakfast around the table or outside in the patio. Now, this episode is called All in All. And so here we go with this. Be ready. So we cut to the ranch. And Christine is sit out in the patio talking to her boyfriend, David. And she says, the Dork moron is back home. Most people have finished prep school and have graduated from college. Normally they go on the real world, but this dork stays at home at the ranch. And David's like, now look, your father's not around. Your family friend, Mike Fields, showed me the office of the ranch. JR actually has a desk alongside your mother's, with a nice little setting for the desktop computer. And Christine said, I'm glad Daddy got me a car, because I don't want to spend too long around him and his dorky, crazy friends, the nerd herd. And David's like, Christine, I can't believe this. My father said he graduated from a good prep school. What's he doing wrong? See, that's the thing. In the JR multiverse, even in the middle of Odessa, you go to the right prep school when you're wealthy. And prep schools were day schools also, most likely. And so Christine's like, we'll see how Daddy feels about him when he's done with the power and comes back home. Okay, so it's 3:30 p.m. Central. Okay, so it's in the kitchen. Betsy is talking to Louisiana, my boss, Claude Whitmo. When they're sitting down drinking iced tea in the kitchen. And he said, you told your husband yesterday you need a political favor. And Betsy's like, well, there's this guy, sits on the Commission of Livestock Activation. It's a commission at the Department of Agriculture. Anyway, he's sending this girl named Miko down to my ranch to do an inspection in 6 days. And I need this inspection to go favorably. And I think this guy named James Bowers, he's going to be a problem. And Claude's, I don't know, through the cigarette smoke, he's kind of like you're saying. And Betsy said, I want him gone. And Claude's like, as in getting him clipped? You understand, that's the territory of the Powers crime family. And she said, I'm not talking about ending his life. I'm talking about political pressure. What you do well. Be in contact with the governor in a couple of days. And find some ways to get him removed. A scandal. I don't give a damn, just do it. And you'll be paid handsomely. The next morning, while waiting at the airport in Midland, he got in contact with Russell Stratton in the Powers family that knew how to apply the right political pressure. And on the morning of the 14th, it became known to Governor George W. Bush that this gentleman, who was over the inspections of ranches, and it was determined by the Texas Rangers that this man that Mama wanted gone was involved in Ponzi schemes and a scandal similar to Abscam. So that by the 15th of May, this man was packing his disc and out of office. Okay, so it's 6 p.m. Eastern. Beef filet al dente is for dinner at the home of Constantine Bush. Present at the dinner party is Constantine and Hillary Bush, Carol and Jim Stringer, Jim Hendrick, and Clara Luss. And Carol Stringer said, "I tell you what, I was so angry when the D.C. Court of Appeals reversed the conviction of Bob Cooney." And Clara Luss said, "The man was involved in bribery. It didn't matter whether the FBI tapes were admissible, inadmissible. He did it. That's all that's relevant." And Constantine Bush said, "Clara, have your husband Henry write a 3-page article during the trial. Have West Magazine expose the bastard." And Clara's like, "Well, it's not that easy, you know. Need 2 media outlets to declare he's a sleazeball." "Clara, you're not normally a regular character around here, but reactiveness. The bell." It's rare we're going to have to use the bell, but this is one of those times when we had to. And Jim gets angry. He's like, "I ain't a tabloid. My mother-in-law and my wife descended to this. If I could help, I would. But if that man needs to hang, he needs to hang on his own with no help from me." And Constantine said, "I'm sorry Betsy had to leave. She's a big asset at our dinner parties." And Jim's like, "She'll be back by August 5th. I figured the next night we go ahead and have dinner together, all of us." And Hillary Bush said, "Clara's just a companion, right?" And Jim said, and Jim Stringer's like, "Of course. Jim Hendrick would never stray away from his wife." In some ways, it's kind of like, yeah, right. Okay, so it's 8 p.m. Eastern. Sitting in one of the men's parlors at the mansion of Constantine Bush, called White Castle. It's in the Red Room of the White Castle. Constantine, Jim Hendrick, and Jim Stringer Constantine has some music playing from the 1950s band Crop playing. And Jim says, I remember the days falling in love, getting stoned drunk, the 2-day college weekend benders. I was in Constantine's like I was in high school. My high school English teacher went generally on and on. One morning about how cross-crop was evil. Anyway, I was dating this girl when I was going to Angelo Prep named Lucy. Lucy Spatafor. Parents were pillars in the local Assemblies of Christ. She said I couldn't drink around her. She wouldn't go with me to a roller skating rink. And she wouldn't watch the Ed Sullivan Show with me. Let's put this phone on Do Not Disturb so we can finish this. I don't want any distractions. And so Jim says, such was the case of my father's upbringing. And Jim said, strict but loving. In fact, Daddy complained that he felt like that my grandpa was too strict. And that's why he ran away. Became a coward. And Jim Stringer speaks up. Look, Carol and I were just little kids around then when that music was popular. We came of age in the 60s. That was around the time when you, Jim, were out wildcatting, and Mr. Bush, you were out practicing law. And Jim said, you know, Constantine, I first met you in 1973. You were a liaison between Commerce and the Texas Energy Commission. The spotlight. Rocky start, we became friends. And we always will be, Jim. Now that you came back to see the light, Constantine Bush said. Okay, so this is kind of an interesting thing. It's the afternoon and evening after JR's graduation. Okay, so now it's the 13th, 1 p.m. Eastern. Jim is in his office writing a memorandum to Bill Mayer discussing the activities of the week. 3 p.m. Okay, so it's back at the ranch. JR, you got some things to say. Well, you know, Kevin and I have had a lovely early morning. Carmen took us in my boat to go fishing at Lake Thomas. Okay, so that was meanwhile back at the ranch. Betsy gets a call from Miko. And Miko says, Miss Betsy, I just need you to remain calm. May in Texas is usually a maintenance inspection. We have those usually in January, March, May, and September. And inspections are done randomly. And this year, Springfield came up. And Betsy's like all tense. She's like, this was my daddy's ranch. And I will do anything to protect it. Land ownership is part of our family's heritage. And Miko's like, look, I just need to take a look at one production guide, inspect the milk machines, and go. And this is like, okay then, so when should I expect you? 9 a.m. on the 18th. And have your foreman there. Okay, so Betsy hangs up the phone. She's in the upstairs, the back part of the upstairs den. Jared's watching TV. Starflight. One of the Starflight movies. And Mike Fields, he walks into, you can tell by Betsy's tense. He's like, Miss Betsy, you're stressing over this way too much. This is not what your parents would want. And I know that's the last thing Jim Hendrick could want. And Betsy's kind of flustered. She's like, no, he would want me to just be sitting around the mansion in D.C. waiting for him and then going to society dinners, Betsy said. But my heart and soul belongs on this ranch. When those kids get out of college, they'll make their way in the world. Me, I came home to help Daddy and Mama look after this ranch. And Mike says, all we're saying is moderate how much you manage this ranch. I know Jim isn't going to be here, and that hurts. But most of your family is going to be here, Merrifield says. And Betsy's like, I can accept that Jim likes to travel and have long absences for his work, Betsy said. And although I hate it with a purple passion, I can accept and understand that Jim has a wondering eye for the beautiful ladies. What I can't stand is this ranch falling behind. Betsy, true to form. Okay, so it's 5 p.m. Eastern. Jim is sitting in the front lounge with Clara. He's getting ready to have the dinner with his dream team. 7 p.m. They're having, oh boy, quite a fair. Okay, so now it's 9 p.m. Central. JR falls asleep in his bed and he has a flashback dream. Now, spoiler alert, in the next full season this dream comes to full meaning when JR has psychotherapy. Okay, so no, not this dream. The day is June 4th, 1980. JR can overhear his maternal grandparents talking. And he's like, "You can't say it's his fault," Granddad Swain said. "No matter. You can't say it's his fault." And Grandma Elizabeth says, "Kyle had to be stupid. Climb halfway up to the balcony and then jump and fall off and break his arm. Betsy risked herself during pregnancy to take care of him in the hospital. And now she and Jim are on this big pleasure trip just before Christine is born," Grandma Elizabeth said. "It's breaking the rules." And Granddad Swain's sister, Janet, she spoke up. "No offense, Jeremy, but Betsy went wild because of you. Poor JR, always so sick and everything. And it took her and you to take a horsewhip to Jim just to get all of them to settle down." Okay, and this is where the great-grandpa, the one that founded the ranch, said that Andrew Swain, he sits down at the table. And I want to tell him, "Oh, you, hush. I'm dying of cancer. And this is what I predict. Jeremy, when you and Elizabeth die, you're going to get Betsy the ranch. And guess who I believe should get it later on? That's going to be JR." And that's what happened. Okay, so it's the morning of the 14th. Christine is on her way to school. JR, Kevin, and Betsy are having bacon, egg, and cheese and biscuits with orange juice and the choice of coffee and milk for breakfast on the ranch patio. And Betsy's like, "Good morning," Betsy says as everybody walks outside. And JR, he walks outside holding the this morning's edition of the Fort Worth Times. "Morning, Mama." And Kevin's like, "Good morning, ma'am." Anyway, JR and I decided to go on a little fishing in Big Spring and just came back. And Betsy's like, "Betsy, you should know, Kevin, you should know by now that you can call me Miss Betsy or Betsy. What do you guys have going on today?" And Kevin said, "Well, I stopped by Phil Graham's office today in Midland. Internship starts June the 5th. And Gerald says, "Well, I'm already looked at the notes from Queen Harcourt. Seeing a favor. Again, like HarperCollins rejected my book. I have to write one more chapter. A conservative view based on the First Amendment on a damn Supreme Court case they decided on Wednesday Jared said. Abortion? The FACE Act? Kevin said. And Gerald's like, First Amendment issue, but I'm planning it more towards conservative values. And Betsy says, well, I have to get some bulls ready to be taken over for sale in Greenwood, Betsy said. And then I'm going to be working on a production guide as soon as I get home. Okay, so it's 11 a.m. and Jim is with his dream team to prepare for his own personal press statement to release this afternoon. That's a press release to be released this afternoon before going to Arlington, Virginia tonight to speak at the rally of the Reverend Isaiah Friedman. Okay. 2 p.m. Central. In the corner of the family home office at the ranch, Jer is typing away at the final chapter of his book. Gertrude Agnew, his agent, had called him and Andrew House this morning to say that in June they would try another smaller publisher, Day Farmer Publishing, located in Midland, Texas. Okay, so we cut to 7 p.m. that night, Eastern, Arlington, Virginia, okay? Jim is joined by Grace Arthur, speaks at a political rally for Isaiah Friedman in Arlington, Virginia. The rest of the dream team is there to assist in the behind-the-scenes campaign work, polling and all that stuff. Okay, so it's 11 p.m. Eastern. Jim and his dream team arrive at the mansion to get some shut-eye. 11:30 p.m. Eastern. JR has a dream, and this is going to become a spoiler. This one is actually going to become a spoiler alert, a full-fledged memory that he has talking to his psychotherapist. JR falls asleep in his bed, and he has a flashback dream. It's October the 3rd, 1996. The day of, Jim had been warned by Mark Cooney that Terry Lawrence's record sales had dropped from 86% to 58%. Uncle Carl had picked JR up that afternoon from school and showed him the paper. He couldn't tell, Uncle Carl knew the fear in Jim's eyes, should his music portion crumble. So now it's at Swainfield Ranch. That night, JR was anxiously pacing. He had been waiting on pins and needles since dinner and was about ready to despair and give up when his father walks in the door. "I come charging home," Jim said. And Christine's like, "Daddy!" And Christine comes charging into her arms. And Betsy's like, "Jim, where have you been? Why couldn't you come around for dinner?" she'd been frantically walking around too, and Betsy's like, sorry, traffic in Nashville, and here was a nightmare. Now, I stopped off and got y'all some chocolate and Cokes. Now, I understand that Carl and Donna's folks are here outside, so let's go party, Jim says. And Gerald's like, been waiting all night. And so music and Jim's like, music ratings downhill, boy. And Claude is outside the ranch. You know, he's wanting to party down. And he's like, Jim Hendrick, when are you going to quit chasing the stars in your eyes and start going back to oil where you belong? And Jim's like, when the oil prices go back up. Now, I've come to enjoy some time with my friends and my family. And Catherine, Aunt Donna's mother, faces JR at the dinner table, and she says, your dad's a hoot. A mile laughs. And JR's like, yeah, when he's home. And he has another flashback dream. And it is, okay, this is a double header that he has in a therapy session. So it's a night of May 19th, 1987, Jim's first night back home from Nashville. And Betsy is like, I thought I was going to have to strangle you to death to keep you home from Nashville. And Betsy said, you got to believe, since February, I've been more home than not. Terry Lawrence, who am I kidding? She wants Clint Zucchi from Hollywood anyway. But instead, she's stuck with Fat Mark Cooney. Serves her right. Now I could go back and work where I work best. Oil and land. Betsy turns and embraces her husband. She says, I never doubted that she could get the cash flow up in Nashville. What I had the problem with is you working with that girl. Especially when this girl from that Christian school told JR that she would run away and marry that singer. And Jim's like, and that's why I took him out of that place and put him into a fine prep school where he belongs. You need to quit being afraid of your own shadow. I'm here to stay. Yeah, this is pretty interesting. It really is. So, I'm not really sure. No. One. Okay, everybody, patience. I think this is it, but I'm not sure. Yeah, this is it. Okay, it's the 15th, and Jim and his dream team are speaking at Tacoma Park Prep School in Tacoma Park, Maryland. This was done by request from the prep school's headmaster. Okay, so it's 1 p.m. Eastern. And Jim, he's with him now being administrator for entrepreneurial affairs, he's having his own meeting with his own committee to discuss potential policy plans to be submitted to Congress regarding benefits of the economy, especially towards entrepreneurship. Okay, so it's 3 p.m. Central. And as his father is working hard with his dream team, JR is sitting down talking to Brad for the first time since Easter. And Brad's like, don't fool yourself, kid. You got that glow. You might miss her now, but you guys will be back together by August. Sure. You can wait that long. And Jared's like, it's going to be tough, but okay, yeah. If I have to do it, I'll do it. So 7 p.m. with his dream team, JR is having dinner, namely asado, green beans, and the recipe that Jim picked up from wildcatting. Rice Pedro, a dish that had rice with a little hint of refried beans, onion, cheese, a little hint of tomato sauce. $7 p.m. Eastern. Not wanting to sit and wait for Brad to get through choir practice. But JR had promised Brad that he would do so later on, some of the time. He has Carmen pick him up and take him to St. Anthony's Community of Christ, where he stops and to pray, and is with Tim Newcastle. And Tim says, well, Daddy says you're the one to know, but let's pray to the man, the one to know that we really need to know. So that's pretty beautiful in and of itself. Now, we go to the 16th, if you guys are ready. Now, it's 6:30 a.m. And you know, we hadn't drank anything yet. And that's kind of odd. 6:30 a.m. And JR is sitting at the kitchen table. When Dave Smith shows up with donuts from La Paseo, chocolate and peanut pound cake. I'm surprised you even have a day off from school, JR says. And Dave says, principal says the school district needs to meet quotas for substitutes. So, I'm volunteering for 4-day weekend to be with you. And JR's like, well, I got a Bible study tonight with friends. But Kevin McDonald will be here. And so will the rest of the family. So even when I'm gone tonight, make yourself at home. And Betsy comes in from feeding the pigs. Oh, David, it is so good to see you. You kept my junior in line in college when state experts wanted to throw him out. Said he would never amount to anything. Dave Smith stood up and embraces Betsy. Miss Betsy, they lied. I knew that JR had potential. Okay, so it's 8:30 a.m. Eastern. They're in the society room at 14 Heritage Gate. Jim is meeting with his dream team and his protege, John Cecina, and Tim Reiner, of course. Now, Tim Reiner was giving J.R. some material for the last chapter of his book. And since, I think from now on until mid-June, since we're working towards the time when J.R. celebrates the publishing of his book, we need to crack open a root beer and have a drink, okay? So, let's do that. There we go. Last one, so we need to go easy. The book is a big part of it, isn't it, JR? Yes, it is. We need to get you on the Andrew House show after it's published. Okay. So now, it's 12 p.m. Central. Homemade pizza is for lunch as JR sits down with Dave, Betsy, and Kevin McDonald. And Kevin says, Dave, JR is doing this home group Bible study tonight. I want you to know that there's a Red Scouts rally, and political rally, and Dave says, positively awesome. Dave said, we'll ride together. And Kevin said, just so you know, Dad's giving me the money to go to the car rentals on Saturday so I can get a car and be able to start my internship, Kevin said. And what do you say that Saturday morning? We get up and go fishing. Now that I have the boat back down here, Jared said. And Betsy's like, she's got a look of concern, and she's like, Jared, I want to ask you about your businesses. And Jared's like, I have a Hendrick Foods meeting on Saturday afternoon. Come on, Mama. I'll handle business just fine. Granddad made a hard and fast good deal with bet anybody in business willing to use their time, sweat, and integrity. 1 p.m. So Jim is in the front lounge of the mansion, and he's doing his press bulletin. His first one in 8 days. The thing is, it was meant to be released on Saturday, but it actually came out that day. 2 p.m. Central. We're back at the ranch. Brad shows up at the ranch in his new 1987 Crown Victoria that he had bought from Jim Bob's sister. Jim Bob is in the back seat, so JR gets up front. And Jim Bob's like, well, how's your dating friendship? Jim Bob says, it's great. But not just friendship. And Brad's like, come on, Jim Bob. You know he's in love. And he's taking his car and pulls it out from the drive. It's 3 p.m. Central. Betsy is sitting, working on a production guide, and her phone rings. And it's Jim. And he's pretty angry. Betsy, stop stressing out, Jim said. Look, I understand why you did what you did. But this is one reason why I wish you didn't have to go. Ask for a political favor, Jim. It's taken care of, Betsy said. Rick knows. I sent him an appointment to talk to you to see if a favor can be done. Because I want you to stop this obsessive annoyance. It's my fault for starting it. And it's my fault for not being around enough to stop it. And help see us through. And Betsy's like, please, over the years, you have been contrite. But I can handle this ranch myself. Mr. Turned Betsy. So now it's 4 p.m. They're at the house of Jim Bob Horton. And they're hanging out and, and talking. And Jim Bob Horton's like, well, work's been pretty interesting lately, JR. I've been analyzing the financial behavior of those who come in seeking for alternatives for abortion, and those needing counseling against abortion. And after they have decided to choose life. I mean, Dr. Marcel says, I'm a joy to work with. And Brad said, well, I got to say this, Horton. I got to hand it to you. You manage the behavior side. I get paid handsomely for analyzing data in my home, Brad said. I just finished the final chapter of my book. I put it in the mail when Brad picked me up in the drive. It should reach, they say, in 2 business days. And Tim Reiner can make some revisions, consulting with Andrew House, Jared said. And Jim Bob said, am I guessing that your father wants it published? And Gerald's like, Andrew House talks, Jim Hendrick listens. No, Brad says, Andrew House talks, Jim Hendrick listens. And vice versa. I don't like Brad's attitude. So we gonna give the man the bill. Crazy Brad. Okay, so it's 6:35 p.m. Eastern. Jim is hosting a reception for Barbara and Millard Hallam. Barbara and Millard had gotten back together over the past month, and their marriage was going very strong. And Betsy's like, I'm just sorry that Betsy couldn't be here tonight, Jim said. This damn place Sure don't feel the same here. She'll be back, Millard said. Sometimes couples need to walk away from each other. And I walked away from Barbara 7 months ago. But then, last month, we found each other again. It's not easy working with the Supreme Court, Barbara said. They get up there and they lose the practicality of the practice of the theories of law. At least power hasn't corrupted you. Okay, and there's this long pause. And tears are coming up in Jim's eyes. Of course, Jim ain't gonna cry. He's like, actually, yeah. Less than 6 months after I took office, it already had taken over me. This is kind of a sad view. Jim just sounds real sad here. Almost. Well, Clara had left him that morning to go back to Dallas to be with her husband. Okay, so it's now 8 p.m. Central. The home group Bible study is at Dr. Michelle's house is underway. They had just finished listening to the Baptist theologian Charles Campbell on TV. Brad decided to play some music while they discussed some things. And Karen says, and I was listening to Joyce Fields this morning, and she was teaching about patience in the Lord, Karen said. I need more of that. We all do, kid, Brad said. And Jim Bob says, I feel the same way. In 3 weeks, we headed the rant for my cousin's Orion graduation. Okay, so it's 11 p.m. Eastern. Jim, he falls asleep and he has a flashback. Okay, so he has a flashback and we gotta access it. Just give me some time to access it. It's gonna take some time. So what it is it's Thanksgiving. It's Thanksgiving, and it's Thanksgiving 1986, okay? The meal is being prepared, and I think I'm trying to find it. And Betsy, Jim calls Betsy into the dining room, and they're talking.